Sophia sat on the edge of her worn-out armchair, her fingers nervously twisting the strap of her purse. The small apartment felt oppressive, the walls closing in around her as the weight of her circumstances pressed heavily on her chest. On the coffee table in front of her, a near-empty container of baby formula served as a harsh reminder of how precarious her life had become. In the next room, Jamie, her 3-year-old son, slept soundly, blissfully unaware of his mother's daily struggle to keep their lives afloat. The faint hum of the refrigerator was the only sound breaking the silence as Sophia unlocked her phone with trembling hands. Swallowing her pride, she typed a desperate message to her best friend, Mia. "Mia, I hate to ask, but could you lend me some money for Jamie's formula? I promise to pay you back on Friday. I'm so sorry." Her finger hesitated over the send button. Asking for help again was agonizing, but the alternative, letting Jamie go without, was unthinkable. Finally, she hit send. Relief gave way to horror as Sophia realized her mistake. The message hadn't gone to Mia, it had gone to Marcus, her ex-husband. Marcus Dawson, now a renowned entrepreneur featured in tech magazines and making million-dollar deals, had walked out on her life years ago, leaving behind broken promises and a child he barely knew. Her heart raced as her phone buzzed with a reply. It was from Marcus. "I'll be there soon." Sophia froze, her mind spinning. What did he mean? Why was he coming now? And what would his sudden reappearance mean for the fragile life she had built? Sophia had always prided herself on her resilience. After Marcus had left, she had picked up the shattered pieces of her life and focused on building a future for Jamie. With no college degree and limited options, she had turned to freelance graphic design, working tirelessly to secure enough clients to keep the bills paid. Some months were better than others, but the margin between survival and collapse was razor thin. Her apartment, a modest 2-bedroom unit in an aging complex, was a testament to her sacrifices. The walls were lined with Jamie's crayon masterpieces, and the shelves were crowded with second-hand toys. It wasn't much, but it was home, a place where Jamie could laugh and play without realizing the weight his mother carried every single day. Sophia often worked late into the night after putting Jamie to bed, her fingers aching from hours spent on her laptop. The relentless demands of her clients barely allowed her time to breathe. Yet, no matter how hard she worked, there were days when the math simply didn't add up, leaving her agonizing over how to stretch every dollar. And today was one of those days. The empty formula container on the counter mocked her, a silent reminder that her best wasn't always enough. She had no family nearby, and asking Mia for help had become a recurring necessity. The shame of relying on others gnawed at her, even though she knew Mia would never judge her. But now, her mistake, sending the message to Marcus, was spiraling into something beyond her control. Marcus, the man who had left her to navigate this life alone, was coming back into her world. And not by chance. Because she had reached out, she felt a rush of emotions, fear, anger, and an ache she couldn't quite name. What did Marcus want? And why, after all this time, did he think he could swoop in now? Across the city, Marcus was seated in his sleek, glass-walled office, a world away from the struggles Sophia faced. The ping of his phone broke through the quiet hum of the late evening, drawing his attention away from his laptop. He frowned as he read the message, his sharp, calculating mind momentarily thrown off balance. "What? Mia, I hate to ask, but could you lend me some money for Jamie's formula? I promise to pay you back on Friday. I'm so sorry." Marcus stared at the screen, the words hitting harder than they should have. It wasn't just the message, it was the name, Jamie. His son. A wave of guilt rolled over him, uninvited and unrelenting. For years he had tried to bury the shame of walking away from Sophia and their son, convincing himself that their lives were better off without him. But now, seeing those words, the truth hit him like a freight train. They weren't fine. She wasn't fine. Without hesitation, Marcus pulled up his banking app. A few swift taps, and a transfer was complete. It wasn't even a question of how much. He knew Sophia wouldn't accept it otherwise. He hesitated for only a moment before responding to her text. "I'll be there soon." Marcus stood, adjusting the cuffs of his tailored shirt, his mind swirling with conflicted emotions. It had been years since he had seen Sophia. Years since he had even allowed himself to think too deeply about what he had left behind. The image of her face, weary but defiant, came to mind. He remembered the fire in her eyes, the strength she carried, even in the hardest moments. But he also remembered the day he left. As Marcus slid into the back seat of his car, he instructed the driver to take him to Sophia's address. His chest tightened with a mix of apprehension and determination. He didn't know how she would react, or if she would even let him through the door. But one thing was clear. He couldn't ignore this. Not anymore. Sophia's heart pounded as she heard the sharp knock at her door. She stood frozen in the center of her tiny living room, her thoughts racing. It couldn't be Marcus. Not yet. He couldn't have gotten here so fast. Another knock echoed through the apartment, louder this time. Taking a deep breath, Sophia walked to the door and opened it, her stomach twisting as she came face to face with him. Marcus stood there, every bit the man she remembered, yet somehow different. His sharp suit fit him impeccably, exuding the kind of wealth and power that felt completely alien in her modest world. But his expression, calm, almost soft, caught her off guard. "Sophia?" he said, his voice steady yet low enough to send a shiver down her spine. She blinked, struggling to find her voice. "Marcus, what are you doing here?" "You needed help," he replied simply, as if that explained everything. Sophia clenched her fists, anger rising to the surface. "You had no right to come here. I didn't ask you for this." His brow furrowed. "You sent me the message. I know it wasn't intentional, but I got it. And I'm not going to ignore it." Sophia gestured wildly toward the coffee table where her phone still sat. $1 million, Marcus? $1 million? Do you have any idea how ridiculous that is?" He stepped inside uninvited, his presence filling the small space. "It's not ridiculous if it means Jamie has what he needs," he said calmly, his piercing gaze locking onto hers. Her breath caught at his words. "Jamie is my son. My responsibility. You don't get to just show up and decide." "He's my son too," Marcus interrupted, his tone firmer now, "and I'm not walking away this time." Sophia stared at him, stunned. His words struck a nerve, bringing up emotions she had worked so hard to suppress. Anger, yes, but also an ache she couldn't deny. "Walking away is all you've ever done," she said bitterly. Marcus's jaw tightened, and for the first time his confident facade cracked. "You think I wanted to leave? That it didn't tear me apart? I thought I was doing what was best for you." Sophia laughed, bitter and sharp. "Best for me? By abandoning us?" "I made mistakes," he admitted, his voice quieter now. "But I'm here to fix them." Before she could respond, Jamie's soft cry came from the next room. Sophia turned away from Marcus, her heart heavy, and hurried to comfort her son. As she smoothed Jamie's hair and whispered reassurances, one thought dominated her mind. Marcus had returned. But she wasn't sure she wanted him back in their lives. The next morning, Sophia sat at the kitchen table, sipping her coffee in a futile attempt to steady her nerves. Marcus had left late the previous evening, but the memory of his words lingered, stirring emotions she wasn't ready to face. Her phone buzzed on the counter, pulling her from her thoughts. Expecting a message from Mia or perhaps Marcus, she unlocked it. Instead, her stomach dropped as she read the subject line of an email. "You're being watched." Her hands trembled as she opened it. The message contained a single line of text. "Tell Marcus to pay or the world learns everything." Below it was a photo of her and Jamie walking hand in hand to the park, taken only yesterday. Sophia's breath hitched. Whoever had sent this knew where she lived, where Jamie played, where she worked. Her mind raced with the implications as fear gripped her chest like a vice. Without hesitation, she forwarded the email to Marcus with the subject line, "What is this?" Minutes later, her phone rang. "Sophia?" Marcus's voice was calm but edged with urgency. "I got the email. I'm already handling it." "Handling it?" she snapped. "They're threatening me, Marcus. Threatening Jamie." "I know," he said, his tone resolute. "But you don't need to worry. My security team is on this. We'll figure out who's behind it." Sophia's anger flared. "I wouldn't be in this mess if it weren't for you. You think I wanted your money? Now we're a target because you couldn't think this through." Marcus paused, then spoke with a rare vulnerability. "You're right. I should have been more careful. But I won't let anyone hurt you or Jamie." I promise. His words, though sincere, did little to calm her. That night, as Sophia tried to sleep, the shadows in her apartment seemed darker, the creaks of the old building louder. Every noise sent her heart racing. The next day brought more emails, photos of Jamie at daycare, Sophia at work, their apartment door. Each one came with the same demand: pay or everyone finds out. When Marcus arrived that evening, his expression was grim, his usual confidence undercut by the gravity of the situation. He held his phone out to her, showing another message. Your time is running out, Mr. Langston. We're closer than you think. Sophia's knees felt weak as she sank onto the couch. What do they want, Marcus? Why are they doing this? Someone I crossed years ago, he admitted. Carter Reed. I exposed him for embezzling and he lost everything. He's been waiting for a way to strike back. Her heart raced. And now he's using Jamie and me to do it. Marcus crouched in front of her, his voice steady despite the tension in his jaw. I will stop him, Sophia. I swear it. But you need to trust me. Sophia looked into his eyes, searching for the man she once knew. Fear and anger warred within her, but for Jamie's sake she nodded. You better. The tension in Sophia's apartment was palpable as Marcus worked tirelessly with his security team to track Carter Reed. Late nights turned into early mornings, with Marcus poring over reports, calls, and emails. Despite Sophia's resentment, she couldn't deny the determination in his every move. 3 days later, Marcus arrived with news. His expression was resolute, his voice calm but firm. We've found him, he said, standing in the center of her living room. Sophia's breath caught. And he's holed up in a hotel downtown. My team has enough evidence to involve the authorities. We'll have him in custody by tonight. Sophia leaned against the wall, relief flooding her veins, but a new wave of anxiety followed close behind. And what if he retaliates before you stop him? What if he releases the pictures, the story? Marcus stepped closer, his blue eyes steady. He won't get the chance. We've already neutralized his access to the accounts he's using. The authorities will handle the rest. True to Marcus's word, Carter was apprehended later that evening. The police confirmed that he had no backup plan. His threats were hollow, a desperate bid for money he'd never see. For the first time in days, Sophia felt the weight on her chest begin to lift. She sat in her small living room, Jamie playing contentedly with his toys nearby. Marcus stood in the kitchen, speaking quietly into his phone. When he hung up, he walked over to her. It's over, he said simply, a faint smile softening his serious demeanor. Sophia nodded, her hands trembling as she cradled a cup of tea. Thank you, she murmured. You don't have to thank me, Marcus replied, his tone heavy with emotion. This was my responsibility. Sophia looked at him, seeing the strain in his face, the lines of exhaustion that hadn't been there before. He had done this for her and Jamie, risking his reputation and more to protect them. But as the relief settled in, Sophia knew this wasn't the end. Carter might be gone, but the wounds of their past and the consequences of Marcus's actions would take time to heal. The days following Carter Reed's arrest were quieter, but Sophia's emotions were anything but calm. While the media frenzy began to fade thanks to Marcus's legal team, the weight of what had happened lingered. She found herself replaying every moment, every word Marcus had said. One evening, after putting Jamie to bed, Sophia heard a soft knock on the bedroom door. Turning, she saw Marcus standing there, his shoulders slightly hunched, as though bracing for rejection. Can we talk? He asked. Sophia hesitated but nodded, leading him to the small living room. They sat on the worn-out couch, an air of unspoken tension between them. I meant what I said, Marcus began, his voice steady but tinged with vulnerability. I want to be part of Jamie's life. And yours, if you'll let me. Sophia looked down at her hands, her emotions swirling. You've done so much to help us, Marcus. I can't deny that. But trust takes time. You hurt me, us, when you left. I'm not sure I can just forget that. I'm not asking you to forget, Marcus said quietly. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want to earn it. For Jamie's sake and for ours. Sophia met his gaze, and for the first time, she saw a version of Marcus she hadn't seen before. Genuine. Vulnerable. After a long pause, she finally spoke. Okay, a chance. But it's going to take time. Marcus's smile was faint, but filled with relief. That's all I'm asking. As the weeks passed, Sophia and Marcus began to rebuild, piece by fragile piece. Marcus showed up consistently for Jamie, reading bedtime stories, attending daycare events, and simply being there. It wasn't perfect, and the pain of the past lingered. But for the first time, Sophia allowed herself to hope. Sometimes second chances weren't about erasing the past. They were about building a future worth believing in.